Pelvic organ prolapse. What are the organs in the pelvis that could prolapse? If if it is the pelvis of a woman with symphysis pubis in front, then just behind the symphysis pubis we will have the bladder. Coming out of the bladder is urethra, and above the bladder there is a uterus which is in anteverted and anti-flexed position. Here we have the uterosacral ligament which is keeping the uterus in the anteverted position and is also retracting it upward, so preventing it from falling into the vaginal canal. Next, behind the vaginal canal and the uterus there is a pouch of Douglas, and we have the small bowel terminal part and then the rectum and anal canal. This is the perineal body with the pelvic floor muscle. So the organs are urethra, bladder, uterus, and the small bowel and the rectum. These are the organs that could undergo the prolapse. Now what is the pelvic organ prolapse? Protrusion of the pelvic organ, any of these organs, into the vagina or out of the vagina. When any of this organ enters into the vagina, protruded into the vaginal canal, or it is so much protruded that it comes out through the external vaginal opening, it is known as out of vagina. So this is known as pelvic organ prolapse. Now before discussing the risk factor, let's see what is the normal support mechanism in the pelvis which is keeping these organs in their place, and what is the pathogenesis, what is the abnormality, and how the organs will prolapse. Now let's talk about the pelvic supports. The supports of the pelvis are divided into the three level 1 to 3 from top towards bottom. At level 1 it is known as ligamental support. There are ligaments. One of that is uterosacral ligament which is keeping this organ in the place. If we take the cross section of the pelvis and look at the uterus in this view, then we have the symphysis pubis, the urinary bladder, then the uterus, rectum, and the sacrum at the back. Now if we focus on the uterus only, from the uterus there is a ligament that is attached anteriorly to the pubis. This is known as pubo-cervical ligament. It is actually attached to the cervix of the uterus, the pubo-cervical ligament, but it is not very much supportive. The uterus on the side, both of the side or lateral wall, is supported by the ligament whose fibers are transversely passing. So it is known as transverse ligament, also called as cardinal ligament. It is attached to the lateral wall of the pelvis. So it is a very important support for the uterus. And posteriorly the uterus is attached via the ligament to the sacrum. This is known as uterosacral ligament. This is the same uterosacral ligament which is keeping the uterus in the anteverted position and also keeping it in retracting it upward. This is the main support, uterosacral ligament. It is very important. And then we have the transverse ligament or the cardinal. So this is all about the level 1 support. Now if this uterosacral ligament is damaged or weak due to any cause, then the anteverted uterus is converted into retroverted. If this is the vaginal canal, the uterus which is in anteverted is now become retroverted. It is straightened. Now this uterus can easily move down through the canal because in anteverted position it is supported by the bladder because it is lying just over the bladder. Second, if the uterosacral ligament is gone, now the upward force which is keeping the uterus from falling down into the canal is also eliminated. So uterus can easily come down through this canal and undergo the protrusion or the prolapse. So this is the cause. Now let's see if this level 1 support is not functional due to any reason, if it is damaged, and it is damaged in a woman who have the intact uterus. She has not undergone the hysterectomy, her uterus is present. Now the uterus will undergo the retroflexion, become straight, and then it start moving downward. This is known as descent of uterus. So what is the descent of uterus? Simply due to the level 1 support loss, the uterus start coming down through the vaginal canal. Now this is how it will present. When the uterus is moving downward, it may exert the force anteriorly on the urethra or bladder and posteriorly on the rectum and can cause bowel or urinary obstruction symptoms. Now when it is moving towards the external vaginal opening or introitus, the uterus which is just above the external vaginal opening is known as stage 1. The descent is divided into the stages. Stage 1 is near introitus or vaginal opening. It is not at the opening. When this uterus reaches at the opening of the vagina but not comes out externally, it is known as stage 2, at the introitus. And then we have stage 3, when the uterus is out of the vagina but not completely, only partially. When it is partially out, it is at stage 3, partially out. Uterus is partially out of the vagina. And when there is a complete protrusion, completely the uterus is out of the vaginal canal, it is known as stage 4. These are the 4 stages which are present with descent of uterus. Now change the scenario. There is a woman who had undergone the hysterectomy previously due to any reason. So in that woman there will be no uterus, there is a vaginal canal, and the after the hysterectomy the women obviously want to have the intercourse, so her vagina is intact. So we have the vault of the vagina instead of uterus. Now we have only the vault of the vagina, which is which must have that uterosacral ligament support to keep the vaginal vault or top portion or the apex of the vagina in upward or this open. Now if the women has undergone hysterectomy, there is no uterus, so uterus is absent, so we have no uterus prolapse. But if this support is weak and the woman is undergone post hysterectomy, this vault of the vagina will protrude like this. Now the vault will protrude or prolapse. So it is known as, after in post hysterectomy there will be the vaginal vault prolapse. These are the two clinically important prolapse which are associated with level 1 sport. Now after the level 1 sport, let's move towards the level 2 sport. Level 2 sport is provided by the fascias. Here we have the pubic bone. From the pubic bone there is a fibrous fascia which is extending and encircling around the urethra. It is known as pubos, and the cervix of the uterus, that is known as pubocervical fascia. And behind the vagina, it is known as rectovaginal, between the rectum and the vagina, rectovaginal fascia. This fascia is actually supporting the vaginal wall from anteriorly and as well as posteriorly. When this support is there, the both two things, if this support is absent, either the urethra can enter into the prolapse into the vaginal wall when the wall is weakened, or the rectum, when there is increased pressure in the rectum, it may bulge forward into the vagina. Now if we see this in a cross section, there is the pubic bone, sacrum behind. That fascia is not attached to the sacrum, it is actually only enclosing the urethra and the vagina. This is vagina and the urethra. Here we have the pubocervical ligament fascia, and then we have the rectum and vaginal fascia. When this fascia is rectovaginal fascia is injured, rectum can protrude forward. If pubic cervical fascia, then the urethra can protrude into urethra, or the bladder can protrude into the vaginal canal. So in the fascial, if fascia is not functioning, there could be two possibility: anterior fascia is damaged, posterior fascia is damaged, or both can damage. If both are damaged, then we have all the condition. Now if the fascia is weak or damaged, anterior wall only, there is a anterior wall damage. In the anterior wall damage, there if the upper part is deficient, then the bladder, if the upper part is deficient, then the bladder protrude towards the vagina, and that is known as, bladder is when protruding, it is known as cystocele. Cele is the outpouching or the cavity formation, and cysto mean bladder. Bladder protrude into the vagina, and when we see through the speculum examination, we see the bulge in the anterior wall of the vagina. Second thing, if a little bit lower this fascia is damaged or weak, then the urethra can protrude. Urethra can protrude into the vagina. If this is the case, then we will call it as a urethrocoele. So these are the two conditions which are associated with anterior wall fascial defect. Now there is possibility that posterior wall fascia is deficient only. When the posterior wall fascia is damaged, in the posterior wall, on the top portion we have the small bowel, which is associated with pouch of Douglas. So small bowel can protrude into the pouch of Douglas. This is known as enterocele. When the small bowel enter into the pouch of Douglas, or a little bit lower, there is a rectum which is associated with the posterior vaginal wall, and this rectum could protrude into the vaginal canal, and we will see the rectocele. Rectum is protruding into the this. These are the prolapse which are associated with level 2. Anterior, posterior, bladder, small bowel, urethra, and rectum. These structure could and the nomenclature is just simple. If both anterior and posterior walls are absent, then we will see 4 signs. All these 4 things will be present. And any of these, if the forward, if only the urethra or bladder is protruding, actually it will lead to the obstruction of these organs. When the urethra or the bladders are obstructed, then we will see the urinary tract related symptoms, and if the rectum or the small bowel is obstructed, then we will see the defecation related issues in the patient. Next we have the level 3 support, which is provided by the perineal body and the pelvic floor muscle, which are the levator ani muscle. In the levator ani, the most important muscle are pubococcygeus and iliococcygeus muscle. And if this perineal wall, which is supporting actually the whole of the pelvis, mainly the vagina, is just lying above this pelvic floor and the perineal body, when the perineal body is damaged, the vaginal opening is widened, and if this pelvic floor is damaged, then it will ultimately lead to the vaginal prolapse. Vaginal prolapse, it could be anterior or posterior. Vaginal prolapse. Now these are the types of the prolapse which we could see in different condition, and this is the staging and the mechanism. This is how the pathogenesis. Now what is actually causing these structure to be damaged or weak? The most important risk factor is age. It is seen in older age women. If it is seen, if this condition occur in a nulliparous, it is known as congenital. We will talk about that in management part. So increased age lead to the decreased estrogen. When the estrogen is low, the vagina undergo atrophy. This wall of the vagina is weak, so both these organs can easily protrude. This is one mechanism. Second is multiple gestation. If the in multiple gestation, there is in a stretch of all these ligaments, these supporting structure will undergo stretch. When they are stretched, they are weak, they become weak, and when they become weak, there is a chance of protrusion. Prolonged labor, same mechanism. Prolonged labor lead to the stretch of the supporting structure. Vaginal delivery. Repeated vaginal delivery weakens the wall of the vagina, and we will see more about the of this level 2 type of symptoms in that woman. And we have the weight lifting. What is weight lifting? When the women lift heavy weight, especially after the delivery, when the muscles and the support structures are weak, then they can then it will lead to the increased intra-abdominal pressure. Intra-abdominal pressure can push or exert the force on these structure, and it will lead to the prolapse. Then we have the raised intra-abdominal pressure in the patient with COPD. If the patient is COPD, then due to the chronic cough, there will be the raised intra-abdominal pressure that could lead to the prolapse of this structure. And finally is the connective tissue disorder, Marfan syndrome or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Since collagen is actually making this supporter structure different type of the ligaments, so it can lead to these defects. After the risk factor, we have to talk about the clinical features, or how the patient will present. What are the clinical features? The most important clinical feature is when the organs are moving downward, the patient will feel the pelvic heaviness. This is the complaint, and all these symptoms are exaggerated with gravity when the patient is in upright position, or patient is doing exercise or some activities. Then these symptoms are more, and these symptoms are relieved by lying down. This will be the complaint of the patient, lying down. The most important complaint with which the patient present is something coming out of vagina. There must be something that is coming out of vagina. Something coming out of the vagina, it is the most important complaint of the prolapse. Now after that, there could be when the uterus is moving downward, it will stretch the uterosacral ligament. Sacrum is actually backbone of the pelvis, so it will present with back pain. These are the most common complaint with which the patient present regarding prolapse. Now it could be associated with urinary symptom in the urethrocoel or cystocele, or if there is a rectocele or enterocele, then we may have the defecation problem. So let's see what are the urinary symptoms. First of all, will be the urinary obstruction, which is dependent on stress. When the intra-abdominal pressure increases, there will be the continence symptoms. So it will present with stress incontinence, difficulty in starting the urine, difficulty in stopping the urine, and drop of the urine with even mild activities. This is the stress incontinence. Now if this is the bladder and we have the ureters which are taking the urine from the kidney, when there is outflow obstruction, this will lead to the stasis. Stasis can lead to the UTI. So we can see the patient with UTI, burning of the burning micturition and fever present. Also the chronic stasis will lead to the dilation of the ureter, that is known as hydroureter. Plus if that fluid or the stasis of the urine reaches the kidney, then the kidney will become dilated, that is known as hydronephrosis. So hydroureter plus nephrosis could be the symptoms. These are the symptoms of stress incontinence, urinary symptoms. Then we may have the bowel symptoms. If the bowel symptoms are due to the obstruction of the rectum, when the rectum is obstructed, the feces are accumulated in this pouch, that will lead to the obstruction and patient will present with constipation or difficulty in defecation. These are the most important complaints. But along with these defecation or difficulty in urine stress incontinence, patient will present with digital relief. What is this digital relief? Simply when the patient there are these structures in both urinary incontinence or bowel symptom, there is a deficiency in anterior or posterior wall. Patient when put her finger through this vaginal canal, her finger will act as a support. She can exert the pressure forward if there is urinary incontinence, or the backward if there is a bowel incontinence. So the support is given when these feces which are obstructed, when I insert the finger there and push it backward, it will fall out. So defecation and the incontinence, it will improve with digital. This is known as digital relief. It is seen in the both these cases. Then second important thing is the dyspareunia. Dyspareunia is actually pain with sexual activity. When there is a prolapse of the uterus, then the cervix will move downward into the vaginal canal. When a penis is inserted into the vagina, it will strike with cervix, so she will feel pain. Dyspareunia is present. And the next important thing will be decubitus ulcer. There are decubitus ulcer. It is like pressure sore or bad sore. Decubitus ulcer. What are the decubitus ulcer? The decubitus ulcer are maybe due to the frictional rub. When the organs are prolapsing, it may be the friction which is causing. Plus when they are under the stress or pressure, there is a vascular congestion. Vessels are blocked. Vascular congestion. This will lead to the formation of the ulcer that could present with bleeding or discharge. And when the decubitus ulcer are formed, before going into the management, we have to manage the decubitus ulcer. And how will you manage the decubitus ulcer? First, whatever the organ is protruded or dislodged, reposition it into its original position. So first is the repositioning, which is done by pessaries, which we will see later. Repositioning. First, reposition. After repositioning of the organ, we will do the packing. Packing and repositioning are the two. Glycerine and other combinations are used for the packing. This will be the treatment of the ulcers. Now, what are the lastly, what could be the DDs of the prolapse through the vagina? One is the pelvic organ prolapse, that could be the vaginal prolapse. Other, it may be the Bartholin cyst, that could be one of the differential Bartholin cyst, or it could be the vaginal cyst, or there may be the cervical polyps, cervical polyp, they may present with the prolapse or something coming out of the vagina. And finally we may have the tumor of urethra or bladder, they will also protrude out of the vagina. So these are the differential diagnosis. The investigation and the management part we will see later.